Hey everyone, I'm so glad you're here. I want to start by that. There's something about um, the way I'm presenting as a human lately that has become more emotional than I'm used to or have been. As my defenses are dropping, and they are, there's some suppressed emotion that is coming up. So I feel that right now. I say that because my throat just closed, and there's this sense of almost wanting to cry as I step into this energy, in case it comes across. But in any case, it is, according to the calendar, June 2nd. I am often called Cindy, and this is an open door. And this is the hour. Um, we're almost 50% men. How often does that happen? This is the hour that we have labeled where the rubber meets the road, where we take an idea from the Course in Miracles and we talk about implementing it in our day-to-day life. And I was drawn to go back to 5 lines in the text that I've been going back to off and on for many years. But all of a sudden it's a different aspect of this prayer um, that I'm going to focus on. The conversation can go wherever it's going to go. I'm going to play the song first, though. Yeah. And I just found it this morning. And so we could all decide if we like it or not. It's called Be in Love. Oops. I didn't hit the part that said share sound. You could just watch these kids, or you can listen to them too. Here we go.
Hey, hey, what can I say? Love is the way, love is the way. And hey, hey, I'm crossing my heart for those in the dark. I said I'm crossing my heart. And hey, hey, I'm talking to you. You're hearing this too. I said I'm talking to you. And hey, hey, we're out of our minds to be in this bind, in this age and time.
And I've been around the world once or twice before, but the answer ain't found in seeking more. I promise you this. Money can't touch the peace within a kiss.
Hey, hey, what can I say? Love is the way, love is the way.
Hey, hey, what can I do but make love to you? You know that nothing is new. And I've been around the world once or twice before, and the answer ain't found in starting wars. I promise you this. Oh, yeah. Treaty can't touch the peace within a kiss. No, treaty can't touch the peace within a kiss.
The answer's in love.
Be in love, we love, be in love, be
song, and that is that. Oh, nothing but words to a song, and that is that. The answer's in love, be in love, be love, be in love, be in love. The answer's in love, be in love, be love, be in love, be in love. The answer's in love, be in love, be love, be in love, be in love. The answer's in love, be in love, be love, be in love, be in love.
That's my town.
Yeah,
That's my Portland, Maine.
there you go.
I recognized it right up there. Yeah. Damn. It's good to see
Those
it.
lyrics, yeah, they were, it was like the guides wrote the script to that, or the lyrics. I've been around the world once or twice, but the answer can't be found there anymore. The answer is in love, in love, in love. But you have to say yes. All right, I got a few things to say, then I'll hand it to Andrew, and then we'll open it up. Yeah. So I must have decided wrongly because I am not at peace. I made the decision myself, but I can also decide otherwise. I will to decide otherwise because I want to be at peace. I do not feel guilty because the Holy Spirit will undo all the consequences of my wrong decision if I will let him. I will to let him by allowing him to decide for God for me. We've done this before, even here, at least once, and it's hit my world multiple times in various ways. This is the prayer that I kept losing for years and knew was there and kept losing and kept losing. And it was always the line, I do not feel guilty because the Holy Spirit will undo all the consequences of my wrong decision if I will let him. That's the line that had always lit me up, and it still lights me up. And we could talk about Christian Sundberg talking about in the moment of forgiveness. The forgiveness is now, now, now in all the nows. Like that was one of the highlights for me from our conversation last week. So awesome. It's this line, though, that I want to talk about. I made the decision myself, but I can also decide otherwise. I've been sitting, oh God, the tears again. I have become very, very aware of an aspect of self, and this is the verbiage. I'm not, I'm going to write it all out. I wrote it this morning. There is an aspect of self here that doesn't want to decide, that is not deciding otherwise. I'm being very careful because this aspect of self doesn't feel like it's in choice. So there is an aspect of the energy that is Cindy that is pushing against the idea of surrendering to a higher self. There is an aspect here, an idea. We've been using that word idea a lot. There's an idea, an energy that is here that wants to protect itself, that is holding on to the sense of separation. Not uniqueness, but separation. I see it. And in the moment I say, I see it, I accept that what is seeing it, the witness of that, extends out, is in it, but is not imprisoned by that sense of separation. And I want to invite everyone to sit and see whether or not you can access that aspect within your current story that is clinging. Now, again, we're not talking about clinging to uniqueness or even clinging to personality or clinging to experiencing the self, just clinging to being separate. If you, in this space, and for me, it comes in all these different ways of needing to be the problem solver separate from source, or worried about things that are outside of my current purview. That's all this sense is separate. I'm feeling it here. It exists here, this sense. And the next part of it, which is happening for me, this coat will probably come on and off, I don't know how many times. I keep getting cold and hot. There's a direct experience happening. It's here. And I'm recognizing that there's a witness energy here that is now in the forefront enough that I can allow that aspect of self that is holding itself apart, the space to be here and be held and fully expressed without being judged. That's, I said it, without being judged. As long as I think I am the one that's holding myself separate, then I need to be fixed, and there's judgment, and there's self-recrimination, and I'll never get there. That's not the energy of this sense at this point. It feels old, it feels dense, it is projecting and creating a world that seems separate, and that's all wonderful. In the guides that we're going to listen to this afternoon, there's a new claim that I hadn't heard them say. I called Amy right after I heard it, so she's heard it from me. It goes, I am in the source of all things. I am, and they started adding of as by, I am of or as the source of all things. I am with the source of all things. So there's an idea here that says, I'm separate and doesn't feel safe right now to express that or to let it go or any of those things. And none of that is required. The truth is, and if you spend any time with Keith in this thing, I don't know how many times he said, you know, you don't have to find heaven. Heaven is. You just have to stop listening to the thoughts. It was interesting to be with him. There is a loosening in the allowing that aspect that doesn't want to decide differently, that is holding on to separate, is holding on to judgment, is holding on to the sense of not being self, to speak, to express, because ultimately it's all source. That aspect that is holding itself separate is also love, is also source. Can never not be, because that's all there is. And so out here, I am willing for that which vibrates in this frequency of love to choose. And I am confessing that there is an aspect of the Cindy story that is petrified of love and surrendering into that. And I am saying yes to the invitation to allow that part of this self that is petrified of love and surrendering into love to be held by love and to fully express and to be and do and say whatever she requires until she is complete. Reject nothing. Yeah. So that's what I got. that's the teaching that or the sharing that is here right now. And there's a lot of pulsing and there's a lot of energy movement. I'm probably putting the coat back on again. Um, and we are meeting at 3 o'clock. I just wanted to say that out loud. And now, Andrew, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cindy. Well, so many chapters of the Course in Miracles, like this chapter 5 and the ones couple before it and after it, are trying to explain the ego and what it is. It's a part of the mind, but it thinks it's a part that wants to be separate. The ego is responsible for all that we perceive, the world, the room we're in, the body, and we only perceive through the body. Anything that's not perceived through the body, that is life, is knowledge. Really, it's God. Life is the only reality. Anything else can be questioned. Is matter real? Science doesn't even have a good explanation for the origin of matter. So there's a lot of mystery to that as far as science goes. Whenever you are not wholly joyous, it is because you have reacted with a lack of love to some brother that God created. That's in chapter 5. That's paragraph 7, the first part of the first sentence. I cut the first part out because it's only in the purple book. But let me remind you of something I told you myself. Whenever you are not wholly joyous, it is because you have reacted with a lack of love to some brother that God created. We are tasked with learning to love everyone and everything as we love ourselves. Special relationships make that challenging because we have favorites, but we really have to learn to love everyone equally. And it's not easy. I mean, the ego is afraid of the truth. The ego knows that the truth will abolish it, not imprison it, not imprison it. It'll just disappear because the ego is only an idea. And we associate our being with the ego, but our being is with God. And, our revelation is an experience of direct communication with God. It hasn't happened to me yet. And I think when people do have that experience, they lose their fear of death. They come back to this world, but it's only to spread the message of God. That's what Jesus did. That's what he still does with the Course. That's my comment. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Andrew.
this meeting.
This meeting exists because we're here. Yeah, I'm just grateful to be a part of it. Rana Marin,
Hello.
hello.
Grateful to be here. I love where Andrew pointed because, well, first of all, I have gratitude that for some reason we keep getting pointed back to this. And I really feel like it's something I needed to see again today. And I too was going to start my share off of that same sentence. Whenever you are not wholly joyous, it is because you have reacted with a lack of love to some brother that God created. So I paused and I thought about that. I was like, yeah, it's always about some story, person, place, or thing. But then what became clear was perhaps even myself, giving myself that grace and that love. Because on the page before, in paragraph 5, it said, God weeps at the sacrifice of his children who believe they are lost. The one more thing that you must learn is merely that you are not the one more. And in the Purple Book, that talks about a story where he's really talking to Bill, saying, you're not the only one person exception that's outside of this sonship. This is for you too. Nobody's excluded. Yeah, your brothers are all part of it, and so are you. So that was the message that I'm getting this morning because, I still have guilt that comes up that I see very clearly now. And a lot of times it may start out to seem like it's in reaction to a brother, but really it's about how I'm feeling about my reaction to a brother or about myself. And so right before the prayer, it says, say the following as sincerely as you can, remembering that the Holy Spirit will respond fully to your slightest invitation. And, that just makes me feel like there's so much love, right? It's like the truth is just waiting for me to ask or just crack that door of willingness open a little bit to hear it. And what I heard clearly today is, no, Rana, you're not outside the sonship, that perpetual false pride, where it says, I'm not good enough. It's okay for everybody else, but not good enough for this one. And I don't believe that anymore. But there's the ceiling fan of it, still like little movements of it, still in this personality. And it may never go away. And that's okay too now. Because I don't get upset at myself for having that as much, But I think it's about that, and just remembering that this little self is part of the sonship, is part of the big S self. And when I widen that lens back out, this love is for all people, places, and things, all situations is where it emanates from. So really great teaching this week. Thank you.
As I was listening to you, I was thinking about all the different teachers that light me up. And one of the key teachings, this David Gian, you're doing Kabbalah with my sisters. He says it could be 1,000 times a day you ask the Creator for strength to see things differently. I was listening to a lot of the Q&As with Paul and the guides, and one of the themes I've heard over the last couple of days is when people were asking about their business or their future, there was this sense that this individual self continues to believe that it needs to do it by itself. It's like, you're not alone. How often are you asking for help? How often do you ask for help? How often do you ask to see things differently? And I don't remember if it was Regina or others who taught me that the ego will, you'll ask once and the ego, says, see, you didn't get an answer. And all of a sudden you don't ask again. Like, oh, asking doesn't work. But even Joel Goldsmith teaches to do the his 1 to 3 minutes at 20 or more times a day. Course in Miracles workbook gets to the point where they invite the student to stop every hour and sink into the truth.
Yep.
Ask for help. Ask to see things differently. Ask for the strength. Ask for the guidance over and over and over again until it flips. Richard.
Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Good to be back with you. Interesting. I'm going to also cover the paragraph number 7, but before I do, I wanted to respond to your question that you are experiencing, Cindy. And I used to beat myself up when I perceived myself being in the wrong mind. And then I went through a period of accepting the fact that I was in the wrong mind and asked for forgiveness. And now I'm at a point where I don't care where I'm at. And if I want to be in the wrong mind, I stay in the wrong mind, and I don't beat myself up. I just laugh at myself and go, fuck it, I'm going to stay in the wrong mind. So that's how I deal with if I understood what you were sharing, that's my solution to the problem. I'm everything, so I'm going to be in the wrong mind sometimes. I'm going to be in the right mind. I'm trying to purify this vessel so I can manifest the love that I am in truth, and that's basically my guidance. But so I too hung up on paragraph 7, and I'm not trying to brag, but I support over 8 organizations that teach the Course in Miracles. I don't always agree with what they say and their interpretation of the Course. I have my own path. I have my own resonance with books. I'm an FIP guy. I've been studying the Course since 1990s, and I'm a Ken Wapnick guy and a Keith Havenaugh guy. So, but I've been a follower. I've known Robert since the 1990s. He's been here in St. Louis numerous times. As a matter of fact, he and Emily were here last year. And the problem I have with Robert is Robert has a unique interpretation of the Course in Miracles. And the reason I joined the local committee in St. Louis for the Course in Miracles was because I was afraid of all the people that are on the council. We're going to start teaching the Robert Perry version of the Course, and I don't agree with his version of the Course, so I joined the council in order to make sure that didn't happen. I'm over that now, but I left the council in 2014. So, anyway, the book, the Purple Book, as Andrew pointed out, says, it is because you have reacted with a lack of love to some brother that God created. The Blue Book says, it is because you have reacted with a lack of love to what God created. Now, this may seem like nitwit or noise to you, so forgive me for that, but I do go into the weeds on some of these. God did not create the separate self. So you may agree or disagree with me. The separate self is a tiny mad idea. And then that tiny mad idea, when it chose the ego, projected out of its mind the sin, guilt, and fear that makes the world we all experience. And we're all holographic images of the one Son of God or child of God. That's my belief. So when it says, Robert believes, it teaches that we're all separate, but we're all part of God. And when we get to heaven, we will continue to be separate from each other, but still one with God. I don't resonate with that understanding of what the Course is teaching. I believe in a more non-dual interpretation of the Course. So to me, there can be no other. regardless of what form it takes. There's only oneness, wholeness. And every time there is another, we're in the illusion. We're in that finite dream of separate things, whether they be thoughts, entities, living matter, non-living matter, it doesn't make any difference. So I wanted to share that with you. Not that I expect any of you or one of you to agree with my interpretation, but this interpretation has helped me to be where I'm at. So I share it with love. Love you all. Thanks for letting me share.
I love your shares, Richard. And I love when you just start to laugh, when the way your voice changes, it's like you can barely contain yourself. And I really love that too. What you said really resonates with me. And I appreciate your answering or addressing Cindy's question and or the point she made, which I'm going to sort of tag team along with, which is that I remember realizing there must be something in myself that likes the experience of being separate, or I wouldn't be, you know? And then I started thinking, well, what is it that likes being separate? And so, well, I love to be able to look at the tree outside my window and appreciate the tree as being separate from me and its own unique expression of God. I love that. And I couldn't do that if I knew I was just one with the tree. You know, I can know I'm one with the tree. And that's not even the correct way to say it. I know that the tree and my big S self are all in the same one. We are the same one. But I still really appreciate the tree and the different colors of the tree. And so, but then the separation can also be painful. And I don't like it when it's painful. And that's what moves me to consider oneness and consider that I'm not separate. So it's a constant dance back and forth. And I think I'm echoing, well, the other thing I wanted to say is echo Keith and like, God isn't crying tears. You know, stop that. God doesn't cry tears because you're separate from God, from him. There is no him. And I love it that Keith says that with his little hand things. So there's that. But also, I think that this is my sense, is that I'm learning how to be both and at the same time. So I'm both the tree and myself and the one and the green all at the same time and having fun with all of it at the same time. And it feels like that's where I'm working to both live at those edges and then blend back in and then be separate and then blend back in and know at the same time that it's all held in this oneness and just enjoy it. The purpose is just to enjoy it, you know? Yeah. Even the crap, right? Even the crap. So the other thing, and then I'll shut up, but is I realized today there's some point where I kind of went, wow, the past 2 or 3 days, I've been feeling really separate and very sort of depressed about things. And that maybe that's not anything that has to do with the personal self. Wow. Maybe that's just this, in the cosmos, this little vibration of Amy is aligned with some vibration that's moving through the cosmos that is of a lower vibration. And she's just attaching to that in this seeming time frame. And that's all it is. It's nothing else, right? That's it. And so what the fuck, you know, see it, that's what it is. And yeah, whatever. So thank you. Love us. Rick, thank you for your appreciation.
I have a board of trustees meeting this evening at Awakening Together, and we always begin with a quote, contemplate a quote, and I grabbed it as Amy was sharing because it feels like it fits, and I'm going to read it, put it in the chat. Pleasant feeling is impermanent, condition dependently arisen, bound to decay, to vanish, to fade away, to cease, and so too are painful feeling and neutral feeling. So anyone who, on experiencing a pleasant feeling, thinks, this is myself, must at the cessation of the pleasant feeling think, myself is gone. And that's the Buddha. Hey, Josephine. Thank you, Amy, by the way.
You know, I have raised the question of self-identity and acknowledging the fact that we are one and there is no separate self. The way I feel or think about it is that, yes, I am part of the all and there is no other in reality, but it is the all, the divine, needing to manifest itself, have different experiences in different ways, which gives uniqueness to each one of us in that manifestation. So both for me are true, that I know that I am part of the all and that there is no separate self, yet I feel separate because what I am feeling is how the all is manifesting itself through me. So both have reality. And I have asked a number of masters if there is a separateness, a separate identity. And I have received the answers both yes and no, depending how it's explained. And the way what I have taken away from all those explanations is what I've just said. I am part of the all, but because I don't feel the all, I feel like I am a unique being in addition to being part of or the one, the all. So both exist, and maybe like Richard, he's accepted it. I have accepted that reality for me, that explanation that allows me to say to myself, there is no ego, there is no real me, and yet there is a manifestation of the all through my behavior.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm not saying right now. But that if there's an opportunity to have a conversation about what you just shared, Josephine, I'm open to it. But at this point, I feel instead to hand things over to Sandra. By the way, Josephine, it's not that I'm disagreeing with anything that you said. It's deepening into what you said. I didn't want you to sit here going, Cindy thinks I'm wrong, because that's not what was coming up. Yeah. Hi, Sandra.
Hi. I just have this beautiful feeling of, isn't this life amazing? Just with all of what all of you said, it's just so amazing. And then I have this image, wow, who was the person we listened to last in Finding Truth Everywhere? Christian? Yes,
Sandra.
Talked about that this life is, he wrote it down, a tree of possibilities, like this giant tree of potential and possibilities. And then I had this image that when I go out on one branch and I make this choice and that choice and this choice, then all of a sudden the branch grows and there's more possibilities. It's like a living, growing tree of possibilities. So what does that have to do with what we were talking about? Helen Hamilton, in the end of her book, Reality Check, just summed it up to me so concisely and beautifully. Like, at first we just think, she talks about the 4 stages. And at first we just think we're this separate self walking around. We don't think there's anything else. And then we have this experience and we go, whoa, I'm not the separate self. I'm this other thing. I'm everything. I'm God. I'm source. I'm awareness. And then we teeter back and forth for a while. And then finally in stage 4, we realize it's all one thing. It never was anything separate. And I just love the way she explained that. And I read that over several times because I had never heard a teacher go that far or explain it that clearly. And I just love what Richard said about when I'm the separate self, I'm just gonna fucking be the separate self, you know? And actually enjoy it. That's the difference. Not like I used to walk around like, woe is me. Now it's all, as Indigo says, for me. And I get to do it with awareness. All one thing. And there isn't anything wrong with feeling separate. I think I came here to feel separate and to experience all the contrasts. That's the whole purpose of this whole manifestation. There is something in the text that I love everything everybody pointed out. There's one thing that just made me laugh out loud and I wanted to share it. This made me laugh out loud. It's in paragraph 6. And in paragraph 6, it says, this is what physician heal thyself really means. You have observed for yourself, this is hard to do. It's hard to heal yourself. You have, however, been perfectly aware of just what others should do about it. I just laughed out loud. All my life, I've been so sure that I could just tell others what to do. We used to go to church on Sundays a long time ago, and my husband at the end of the sermon would always turn to me, never fail, and say, that was a great sermon. My brother should have heard that. And next week, that was a great sermon. Our daughter should have heard that. It was like, that's what's so hilarious about life. Life is pretty funny. I'm not talking about that I'm not compassionate about the wars that are going on. I mean, within myself, just watching how I react is really hilarious. And then it goes on to tell me decisions cannot be difficult. Cannot is italicized. Is impossible for decisions to be difficult. Wow. This you must realize this because you've already made a decision not to be wholly joyous, if that's what you're feeling. So you've decided wrongly and can actively decide otherwise. Once I'm awake and aware, now I know the secret code. And the secret code, like in the video game he talked about last week, the secret code, I know it. So it's like, oh yeah, I remember the secret code. That was really interesting the way you felt. And I'm glad I got to experience that again, even if it was a feeling of separateness. I wanted to remember what that felt like. And especially when I see somebody else doing it, and I know the answer for them, if I get puzzled about the answer for me, I just have to remember, if I were counseling somebody else, what would I say? Then I tell myself, it's all one thing. It's hilarious. It really is. I mean, I have been laughing so much lately. One night I was laughing so hard my side hurt. Just at watching what I do, what others do, how we do this thing called life, and knowing all the while that this life is an incredible gift, just an incredible gift that we get to be alive and manifest as these creatures and enjoy each other. Enjoy the trees that Amy was talking about, that beautiful pink tree outside her window. Okay, that's enough from me.
Never enough from you, Sandra, but thank you. Rich is going to talk again. Isn't that exciting? I think it's exciting.
Thank you, Sandra, for that. I still do that, but I catch myself really these days. But and then I realize, whoa, what's my message here? And I remind myself, I don't even know what's best for me as a separate self. How do I know what's best for somebody else? I mean, I don't know what my path is. How do I know what someone else's path should be or is? So I love that. The other thing I wanted to mention was, in many of our meetings, we talk about, well, before I get into that, the Course says we heal the mind so we experience the real world. And at some point, when we're in the real world, all of us are in the real world as one, God makes the final step. And then we disappear into oneness. And everything goes away. All separation disappears. So if that's true, and we're all experiencing each other as a one, and we're having this dream of billions of separate selves, trillions maybe in the universe or universes, do all of them have to get together as one before God can take that final decision? And poof, it all goes away. So if that's part of the illusion, recently we've been doing a lot of talking from different teachers about raising our consciousness. Now, as a species, as human beings, all on this one planet, we're all starting to talk about how do we raise our consciousness? Maybe that's what we're supposed to do in this density or this a dimension. Dimension and density are two words that sometimes we use to express what it means to be a physical self within the illusion. This rose up when Josephine was sharing. Maybe that's what we're doing, whether we're not, regardless of the path we're on. If we're a Course in Miracles student, that's how we raise our consciousness. In other words, we come to the realization we're not with the body, with the mind we think we are. We're infinitely more than that. And how do we then manifest that within the stream? And we do it by raising our consciousness. That's what the guys say. That's what Hawkins says. That's what Christian says. Also, Christian says, you're here just to be human. Enjoy being human. Rejoice in being a human being. That's what you're here for. So that's all I wanted there. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you, Richard. I'm rejoiced. I was telling somebody, before when I was meeting this guy that we're listening to next week, the former monk, said that the publishers, he lost to the publishers, but what he wanted to call his book was something like, just enjoy being permission to enjoy being human, I think is what he said. Yeah. Dago, we love you. Did you know that? You'll have to unmute, huh?
I love being here so much. It's just the best thing ever. And I'm doing a 40-day program again. I love the 40-day program. I can do it forever, honestly. Yeah. I just love, and I'm still, it's amazing. My foot's still swollen a little bit, but it's okay. Everything is perfect, whatever it is. So.
Are you walking yet?
No, no. Well, I have, I do have, like, what do you call that? A walker. So I am walking with the walker, but actually I kind of learned, yesterday that, I need to get transportation. I can't try to do this. So I was trying to do it, take the bus and do that. And I'm like, you know what? No, stop. So I'm stopping. I'm going to call transportation for whatever I need. I'm done. So, yeah. And it's just taking time. And that's what I'm learning, is that the foot just takes so long because it's like the bottom of the heel, or whatever you want to call it. And we don't pay attention to it. So, yeah. And I just love being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love being here too. And it says Sea Hope admin, but Sandy is my dearest friend that I actually get to take walks with and play with dogs with. And she and I met when our kids were like 4 years old, I think. So I told her to come and bathe in our energy. Did I say that? I said something like that. Just feels good to be here. Livy. Oh, go, Sandy.
I just wanted to say hello to everybody. Just even seeing all your faces is making me feel better today. This was having a little bit of a rough day, and I called Cindy 5 minutes before she was supposed to be on here. Help! So, yeah, it's just nice to see all your beautiful, shining, loving faces.
This group likes to laugh at our own supposedly anxieties when they show up. They kind of come up, they get seen. Some of them last longer than others. But it helps to do it together in a space like this. Right, Livy?
Right on, right on, right on. Oh man, that was too Matthew McConaughey. I apologize. I apologize out of the gate. Oh my Lord. And I hope that y'all aren't seeing food in my teeth. But I've had a busy morning, but I just been listening to this conversation, and I more and more what you just said, Cindy, more and more, I just always just feel kind of a glow or something whenever I'm with y'all. The discussions are so right on with where, I live alone. I've been doing a lot of things around, Susie Homemaker stuff, domestic goddess, around my place, and been kind of isolated. And I'm grateful today that I know I don't have to follow every thought that comes into my head, and I know that I can just stop whatever I'm doing and just pause until I feel my feet beneath me and ask for the next guidance and recognize that it all is. and to be able to look at the beauty of a tree and also look at a tree and realize I am that I am everything. And the discussions that we have and that we share, just I can't even begin to say how much they enrich and help me to know that I'm not alone and that it's impossible for me to be alone. And I'm just so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you, and just am really, really grateful. And I love seeing the beauty in your forms, you know, and because we're all just like just super beautiful. And I sure do love all y'all just so much. Really grateful.
And we love you. As I was listening to you share, I was thinking about Keith. That's 2.5 hours of Keith. It was submersion in his teaching. But how often did he say, "Stop listening to that insane voice in your mind? It ain't you." Right? Over and over and over again, he said some version of, the Course doesn't care. The Course is going to meet you where you are and take you to the truth. The key is doing the work. And what is the work? You stop listening to the insane voice in your mind. That's pretty much I don't know how many times he said that in 2.5 hours, but it was more than 3 times. All right, we got 2 minutes. Who's going to use them? Control Alt Delete. There's something they'd like to. All right. Well, then I'm just gonna. Hey, William, are you with us? I'm not the only one who loves your voice at the end of these meetings.
I most certainly am. And I think I'm just enjoying being very quiet. I'm enjoying myself. And when I listen to you all, you put such great words together. I marvel at, wow, like that's the way you said it, and you said it, you said it. And I noticed that I'm not really that busy comparing. I'm just allowing each of you to be that particle of the oneness. And I just feel it's like I'm knowing something that I don't really know yet, but I feel it. And so I'm enjoying that. So I'm very quiet, and I appreciate you reaching out. It's almost like it reminds me, my father is a very loving, reserved person. We didn't hug, but his words were hugging. And he would tickle us as kids or nieces and nephews and say, "I'm going to count your ribs. If you laugh, I got to keep counting them." Well, that's what I feel. So often I just feel like with my own 2 sons, I just love tickling them. They giggle. Then I have to keep tickling them, of course. And I do that with grown people. So anyway, sometimes I embarrass my wife because I'm kind of touchy. And I have to be careful. Some people don't appreciate that. And okay, I just need to be aware of their boundaries. But one thing here is there's just no boundaries in a way. And that's what I feel, is that we are this space. So thank you. Thanks for even noticing me. Thank you.
How can one not notice, William? And here's my question for your wife. At what age are you allowed to just do whatever you want to do? You know, is it 94? Like, how
Well,
old do you have to live in this body before you're allowed to hug anyone
I
you want to hug?
I don't know, but at 92, my heart's slowing down and my ankles swelling up and going to cardio, all that stuff. I guess my heart's just kind of tired of pumping away, but that's okay because I'm just enjoying myself. So thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And your book should land on your doorstep today.
Oh, thank you. And Cindy, you're like a good mom. You take care of everything.
I was a project leader in a past life, right? All right, everyone. I love us very much. And I'm opening this room again for us to listen to the guides at 3 Eastern. Bye-bye.